There's a specific kind of fear that doesn't always show itself loudly. It doesn't scream or throw things. It hides, it shrinks, it edits itself before it speaks. It's the fear of being too much, too loud, too emotional, too intense, too ambitious, too sensitive, too opinionated, too passionate. Just too. Maybe you felt it. That moment when you stop yourself mid-sentence, afraid you're rambling. When you tone down your excitement because you don't want to seem weird. When you mute parts of your personality because somewhere along the way, someone made you believe that the full version of you was overwhelming. And what's worse is that this fear doesn't usually come from random moments. It's often learned, passed on through subtle rejections, a friend rolling their eyes when you talk too much, a parent sighing when you cry again, a partner telling you to calm down even when you're expressing something valid. These little moments train you to believe that your natural way of existing is somehow wrong, that you have to shrink to be loved, that you have to be smaller, quieter, easier to digest. But here's the thing no one really tells you. Being too much is usually just code for being deeply alive. The people who are called too emotional are usually the ones who feel deeply, who care intensely, who cry not because they're weak, but because they connect with the world in a way others don't. The ones who are called too ambitious are often just the ones who see what others are too afraid to try. And the people who are too loud are often just the ones brave enough to take up space in a world that taught them not to. There's nothing wrong with feeling things strongly. There's nothing wrong with being excited about life, or passionate about your ideas, or having a laugh that fills the whole room. But when you carry this fear of being too much, you start to internalize the idea that your authenticity is a burden, that who you are needs to be edited in order to be accepted. And that kind of self-editing slowly becomes exhausting. You start performing instead of living. Psychologically, this often ties to rejection sensitivity, a tendency to expect rejection, especially from people you care about. So to avoid that, your brain starts to filter you, not because you're fake, but because you're afraid. Your nervous system remembers how it felt to be dismissed, and it wants to protect you from feeling that again. So it tries to keep you safe by telling you to tone it down. But there's a cost to that safety. You stop trusting your voice. You overanalyze everything you say. You walk on eggshells in conversations, afraid to take up space. You apologize for things that don't need apologies. And you become so good at fitting in that you start to forget what it felt like to just be. And here's where it gets really deep. A lot of people who fear being too much also fear being too alone. We think if we show our whole selves, we'll lose people. So we give them a softer version of us, a filtered version, one that doesn't shake the ground. But in doing that, we often attract relationships and environments that aren't actually meant for us. They like the version of us that's watered down, not the real one. And we stay in those spaces because we think that's the best we can do. But maybe the people who said you were too much were really just saying, I don't have the capacity for your depth. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to handle you. But the solution is not to shrink. The solution is to find spaces where your fullness is welcomed, where your laughter doesn't feel like noise, where your feelings don't feel like a problem, where your presence doesn't feel like a burden. Because the truth is, you were never too much. You were just too real for people who weren't ready. There is power in being able to say, this is who I am, and I will not apologize for it anymore. There is freedom in walking into a room without adjusting your volume, without trying to calculate what version of yourself people will like the most, without needing to earn your right to exist. Healing from the fear of being too much doesn't mean you never feel insecure again. It means you stop letting that fear run your life. You recognize it when it shows up. You see it. You sit with it, but you don't let it dictate your voice anymore. And it's hard, because we've been taught to trade authenticity for acceptance. But what's the point of being loved if the version they love isn't even real? Start showing up as you, even if it's awkward at first, even if your voice shakes, even if people leave, because the people who stay, the ones who love you without asking you to dim your light, those are the people worth holding on to. And most importantly, you are one of those people. You are worth showing up for fully, unapologetically, messily, loudly, with all your too much glory. Because maybe, just maybe, your too much is exactly what this world needs more of.